And Toretta intercepted by Teague. George Teague to the end zone. Touchdown. Hall is now right in the middle. That's their blitz. Passes away, penalty flag down. Lamar Thomas has got it. Lamar Thomas is on his way down the sideline. George Teague is after him and runs him down. Takes the ball away from him. Teague's got the ball. And they tackle Teague back at the 12. Game's over. Alabama defeats Miami. Number 2 beats number 1, 34-13.
Blitz on from the 1. And they throw a fade right side of the end zone for Owens. He got both feet in. Touchdown catch over the shoulder. Here we go. They're going to have a big fight. There goes Owens. Puts it down. Teague levels it.
Here it goes.
And now Teague is aimed at by an offensive lineman. Flozell Adams pulls Teague away. And Owens is waved to the bench. And he stands in the middle of the star and holds the ball out.
Let me tell you something, Brad. Terrell Owens started it. Emmett Smith went out to the 50, trumped him. Now Terrell Owens comes back, and George Teague said, you know what, I'm not going to take this. Good for George Teague.
Hello, everybody, and welcome into another edition, a virtual edition of Teague's Take alongside George and JT. I am IndyCar Tim, and we want to welcome everybody that is watching on YouTube, on Facebook, and on Periscope, as well as welcome anybody in that is listening to the downloaded podcast on any of your favorite podcast apps. We certainly ask that you like it, you subscribe, and leave us a good comment, leave us some good feedback on the show. We've got another great guest, and finally somebody that I'm familiar with, George, and somebody that I know a little bit, not much, but a little bit. As we have former NFL scout, the man responsible for bringing George Teague into the NFL in one, Bryan Broaddus. Bryan, how are you tonight?
I'm doing well. It was so nice to hear Keith Jackson's voice talk about such a great play. And that play right there was one of the reasons why George Teague ended up in Green Bay.
Well, yeah, I do appreciate it, brother. Thank you for being on. It's awesome just to have the lasting friendship, over, man, it's been, how long has it been since I've been at the Packers when we first met?
1995 was your last campaign with us.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Let's all feel old for a second.
Well, and that's what you didn't say, Tim, was anything about him in LSU. I got to dive into that already. We're going to talk SEC football a little bit later.
Well, long snapper, right? Broaddus, long snapper.
I was a long snapper way back in the day, and I'll tell you what. The guys that I remember from Alabama are like John Hand and Thomas, and they had players in Alabama in the '80s that were legendary, great players. Like I say, Derek Thomas and stuff, and John Hand, and it was incredible. Anytime that LSU and Alabama got together, Alabama usually got the better of it. But in Coach Bryant's one of his last years in 1982, which is my first year, we beat Alabama. It was the first time in like 11 or 12 years at Legion Field. And I tell you what, they burned the city of Baton Rouge down. We were so happy coming after that one. But it wasn't too often that you got Alabama on a bad day.
Yeah.
But we called Walter Lewis and them on a bad day. So
was that your last time beating them? You as a player?
Actually, it was, my career was a win, a loss, and 2 ties, believe it or not. Tied David Shula.
What?
That's when you could tie back in the day. Yeah, we tied. David Shula was quarterbacking Mike Shula was quarterbacking. Mike Shula was quarterbacking for Alabama. And had a tie, a 14-14 tie. It was back in the day, you would be surprised how many SEC games, George, got tied, back in the 80s. It seemed like it happened a lot.
There was no overtime rules, or what's the
No
deal?
overtime rules. No.
Not back.
Alabama actually scored the game. They were down 14-13 at Tiger Stadium, and they elected to kick the extra point instead of going for two. But yeah, we had ties. It happened, but yeah, my record against Alabama was not great. But I tell you, my favorite memories of college football were playing games. We got to go in 1988. I was a graduate assistant at LSU. I was working in recruiting, and we got to play a game at Bryant-Denny Stadium and won that game. And it was, I mean, we were literally fighting for inches that game. It wasn't yards, it was inches, and it was a game turnover on a block punt. And so, yeah, when you played Alabama, it was you were usually going to come home disappointed. And so, yeah. I'm with LSU playing this weekend, I'm not looking forward to that game at all. Last year, a little different story with LSU getting the victory, but this year, not going to be so good.
Well, Tim, make sure we find some film of him deep snapping. I need to make sure that I get this over. I got to have him come out to John Paul to our school and at least talk
teach
to
you guys how to do it. I can teach you kids how to sit in a chair and snap it. I sure can.
Yes, sir. See, I need to
get Broaddus and Lattisewer out there to show them how to deep snap.
I'll tell you what, it paid my way through school. I went in there, I went to LSU. I was at W.T. White High School over here in North Dallas and was just never got big enough and learned how to deep snap. And that's what kept me on scholarship, was being able to deep snap and placement snaps and stuff like that. Now, they used to be able to kill the centers and stuff like that. But the rules have changed a lot since then.
Yes.
But yeah, it was but that's how I made my way through school, being a deep snapper.
Yeah, I wonder
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, George.
No, you're good. You're good. Go ahead.
I was going to say we're going to get into all the George stories, but I wanted to get into a little bit of Bryan Broaddus stories here shortly before we delve into all of that. We know you played at W.T. White High School,
right?
Dallas kid, on to LSU as a deep snapper, where you then became a scout. Did you always want to be a scout, or did you kind of fall into it by accident?
Wanted to be a broadcaster. Wanted to be the next Keith Jackson. That's the guy that was calling George Teague's great interceptions. That's what I wanted to be. And what was so funny is we didn't have, when I graduated in 88, there really wasn't talk radio and all that stuff available. And so what happened was when I got out of school, I was actually Dale Hansen, Channel 8. I tried to apply to Dale Hansen for a job, and he's like, man, I'm sorry, I can't use you. And it's so funny nowadays, here I'm in media, and Dale's like, I should have hired you back in 1988. And I'm like, well, it's okay. But, no, there really wasn't any involvement. And then, I got fortunate to go back to LSU to work on my graduate degree, work as a graduate assistant, got involved with recruiting is actually how I got. And my interaction was with NFL scouts was they would come in, they would watch our players on film. At the time we had film. And I would talk to them about our players and tell them who to watch and, give them all the insight about our players. So that's really how I got involved with personnel, and then went on to Texas A&M in recruiting in 1990. And then my really professional start was with NFL Europe in 1991. And I worked with a guy who said, hey, you're really pretty good at this evaluation and scouting. If I ever can get you a job, I will. End of December of 91, my 27th birthday, December 12th, I got a job with the Green Bay Packers. And that's how I got into scouting. I was really involved as a recruiter and then got into professional football scouting.
That's so cool. Did you ever want to be a GM, or were you happy with where you were?
Well, it's funny because I was at Green Bay and I left Green Bay to go to Philly in 1997. And if I ever wanted to be a hindsight, look back kind of guy, I should have stayed in Green Bay, because every guy that I worked with got a job as a GM. John Dorsey, John Snyder, Reggie McKenzie. I mean, all these guys got jobs. Scott McLuhan. Every one of these guys got jobs as general managers. I went to Philly. I got to run a draft in Philly, the 1998 draft. We drafted Trey Thomas. We traded for Hugh Douglas. Our draft got 4 of the 8 picks we made the Pro Bowl. 2 years later. It's the draft and Andy Reid. He took Donovan McNabb the next year, but it's the draft and set Andy Reid up. Our draft, his draft, that's the draft that set him up for the dominance that they had with the Eagles for all those years. He had guys like Jeremiah Trotter was a guy we picked out of Stephen F. Austin. So yeah, I mean, that was my 15 minutes of fame, really, working a draft and being involved with it, and then went on to Jacksonville and then came to Dallas to do pro scouting stuff.
Hey, Broaddus, there's a GM opening at the Detroit Lions if you want to go and jump back in there.
Also, in Jacksonville,
right?
Houston, Jacksonville, Detroit. Who else? Is there one more GM that we're missing here? I think that might be it for right now. But these jobs, it's funny how these jobs, they always call me on the radio. I'm the old crusty guy. I'm like the old crusty. My ways don't work anymore. So they probably don't need me as a GM. But I tell you what, it would have been fun to run a team. I still have friends in the league that run teams, that work on teams, and a lot's changed over the year. A lot's changed from the analytics side of it has become such a big part. When we were in Green Bay and we were watching George play, we just put George's tape up on the field. We up on the wall. We watched the Iron Bowl, the Auburn game. We watched him play Ole Miss. We watched him play everybody. And that's how you really evaluate it. It wasn't about the numbers like George with the numbers and stuff. Yeah, he went the combine and workouts and stuff were important, but it was really about the tape. And I don't know if we're always so locked in today on that tape. I think we focus in a little bit on numbers too much and really who are the best football players because they're the best football players.
Well, I do appreciate that, and that's going to lead me into something. And I hope you don't hurt my feelings too bad with this, but what happened, man? Why did I get traded up out of Green Bay, man? Just got that call from Ron Wolf saying, hey, I want you to know before you see it on the little ticker down there on the bottom of ESPN that you're headed to Atlanta probably tomorrow. What'd I do, man? Did I offend you? I didn't bring you a good Christmas gift? Or
yeah, George, I tell you what, we were trying to win a Super Bowl. And once we got rid of you, we won the Super Bowl.
You won the Super Bowl.
So yeah, that move alone, not getting Brett Favre, by the way, that didn't help at all. Having Brett Favre and Dorsey Levens, that didn't help us at all. Reggie White, don't worry about Reggie White. The move we made getting rid of you, that assured us that we were going to the Super Bowl.
That didn't Mikowski had nothing to do with it either.
Yeah, that. George, there's moves that you make. There's nothing you did wrong. There's really nothing you did wrong. And, we were in a situation, too, where we were still trying to, with the evaluations, and Ron was always into sending messages and stuff like that. And, it's like, oh, they will never get rid of this guy. They'll never get rid of this guy. They'll never get, and then Leroy Butler comes out and goes, like, man, they just got rid of my guy, George T. That doesn't tell you anything. And George, it's honestly, it's nothing you did. There's mistakes. We made a mistake moving on. You still had good football in you. You still played tough. You still got to the ball. You still caused turnovers. We made a mistake. We're playing with Mike Pryor at safety. No offense to Mike Pryor, but Mike Pryor, he can't hold your jock. And that's something that's the truth right there. And that I'm just telling you right now. That was a bad mistake that we made in evaluation.
So Broaddus, when a GM wants to make a trade like that, does he come to the scouting team and say, here's what I'm thinking about doing? Or is it the scouting team that goes to the GM and says, we have a chance?
Well, George, you got traded to Atlanta, right? Was that the deal? Then you go, the trade went to Atlanta?
Yes, that's correct.
All right, yeah. So Ken Herock and Ron Wolf, our general manager, were best friends. And Kenny was looking for a safety. And we had, we were, like I say, Mike Pryor, Leroy Butler. We had all these, we were messing around with safeties. And, Kenny said, hey, I needed a safety. And Ron says, I got one for you. And that's really how the trade works. It's two old friends that talk on the phone and they make that deal. Was it something that myself, Ted Thompson, John Snyder, Reggie McKenzie. Did we all get to talk about that? Not really. Not really. But that's one of those deals where two friends make a deal and then you lose a player that way.
Is there a lot of that still goes on, the good old boy deal?
I think there's a lot of guys in this league that are afraid to hire people that are smarter than them. And so what happens is you get a lot of general managers in this day and age that don't have good people around them evaluate or telling them what they need to do. Pittsburgh is a great example of a team that does it, in my opinion, the right way. Kevin Colbert has been there forever. Pittsburgh stays continuity with their coaching staff, with their scouting staff. They've got a plan for how they want to handle things. And so, Kevin Colbert is not a good old boy guy. He's a crusty old guy like me, but he's not a good old boy guy. And, I think back in the day, you had a little bit more respect, a little bit more back and forth with these general managers. They were all bigger than life guys. Most of them are in the Hall of Fame. A lot of them are. But they were bigger than life guys, Bill Poley and Ron Wolf. I mean, just keep naming them. And I think there was more conversation between those guys than there were today. I think the guys today are kind of scared of each other. They're scared that they're going to get taken on a deal or something like that.
Was that the Jerry Glanville years? Was he the coach there?
Yeah, that's how we got Brett Favre.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, we get Brett Favre because Ken Herrock, and I went up to Ken Herrock and I told him I was like really cocky back in the day, really cocky. And I was like, I asked Herrock, I said, hey, what was it like to get rid of two Hall of Fame generational players? And he goes, what do you mean? I go, you just gave Favre to us. Just gave him to us. We sent you the 19th pick for Brett Favre. Okay, congratulations. But then you got rid of Deion Sanders? I go, what are you doing? Right. And he's like, oh, well, I'm like, no, I don't know. I don't know what it's like to get rid of great players like that. But but Brett had a lot of issues in Atlanta. Big Partier, out on the town every night, misses the team picture for the Falcons. I mean, when Glanville, and I know this for a fact because when I was scouting one time, I was in a police car with Jerry Glanville. Glanville gave me a ride. He was doing preseason football for the New England Patriots, and I was scouting. I was staying in the same hotel. So Glanville says, hey, do you want to ride to the game? I'm like, sure. Well, we get a police escort to the game. So I'm sitting in the police car, and I asked him, I said, Coach, what was the deal with trading Brett Favre? He goes, oh, that Herrock, that kid Herrock, he just gave him away. Well, I go, oh, okay. Then you talk to Ken. Ken goes, oh, that Glanville, he never liked him. He didn't want him. He wanted Chris Miller, And it's funny, both sides are blaming each other before the deal. Glanville will say, I thought he was trying to trade Chris Miller. I didn't think he was trying to trade Brett Favre. But it's funny, those guys, neither one of them, it wasn't like a, hey, we made a mistake bit. It was, I confess, he did it kind of a thing with that.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to give you
up Chris Miller, right? I mean, Chris was a starter, right, at the time?
Yeah, Chris was a starter, yeah. Chris was a starter.
So one of these days, JT and Tim, we'll come back, and I definitely have to talk about my 3 weeks in Atlanta after the trade before I ended up in Dallas. That'll be a short segment, but it'll be heartfelt on how.
Well, what's funny, George, you talk about you hating your time in Atlanta. Tony Casillas was on the show a few weeks ago, and he mentioned how much he hated his time in Atlanta. That was a little before you. But, he was not happy in Atlanta. He did not like that organization.
I'll tell you what, I went to some practices when Glanville was there, and I was at a practice where James Brown showed up, the singer. Yeah. Like he shows up and like practice stops. Like Jerry Glanville stops practice and like James Brown is out there talking to the team and singing and dancing around and stuff. Completely stops practice down. And I remember going by the Falcons locker room sometimes on the way to – they played the music like so loud. I don't know how any player get any level of concentration in that room. I mean, it was so loud that usually in locker rooms it's pretty somber, pretty, just kind of even keel. Glanville believed in creating chaos. That was his thing.
Well, he was good at it.
Yeah.
Good Lord.
Well, I'm going to give you one name for the past, and then I want to ask you something about the Cowboys before we go. But one of the guys that I've recently connected with that you may remember is Lenny Mcgill.
Lenny Mcgill.
He is still scouting, and I guess he's scouting for the Dolphins, I believe it is.
Sure is.
I think that's right. He said he's working out on doing college scouting out on the West Coast. So I thought that was kind of cool. We were just reliving some memories about Green Bay days not too long ago here. So
did Lenny tell you how much he hated the cold when he was there? Yeah. Lenny went to school in Arizona State, and Lenny guys has the best smile. I mean, he is like Lenny had like the smile. It's like his smile lights up a room. And Lenny would be smiling. It would be like 9 below zero, and he'd still have this smile. But you knew deep down inside he hated every minute. But Lenny was a good player. He wasn't little. Lenny was a long range.
Yes, he was.
Thinly built guy, and could cover pretty well out of Arizona State. But yeah, he huge smile, but hated the cold. Every day you'd see me, saw me like. Yeah, he'd be smiling. He'd say, I hate this place. It's so cold. Yeah, like that.
Let me let you in on a secret. There are no brothers in Green Bay that like the cold. So
you weren't there when – because the facilities were still bad, right? Facilities were still kind of bad. The locker room – we hadn't redid the locker room, had we, when you were there?
No.
No. Yeah, I remember – okay, I'll tell you what we used to do in Green Bay. There's no barbers. So the black players had no place to get their hair cut. So we started bringing a guy in from Milwaukee is what we started doing. So like on Tuesday nights, like in the shower area, barber set up a chair and the players all sat like they were at a barbershop, talking to each other, and I'm sure just BSing and stuff like that. But yeah, we brought a barber from Green Bay because the players didn't have any place to go to get their hair cut. So it was like, we got to do something. And lo and behold, that's what we did. And we were trying. I don't know if we did it right all the time, but we were trying a little.
It was great because when you brought in the catfish and all the soul food, when you brought in all the soul food from Milwaukee.
Soul food people.
It was
yes, sir, it was. You remember that.
I'll never forget that, but that started because Swell and I started.
Catfish was trash, it's not lying, right? you and I know good catfish. Trash, right?
I'm just glad to get it. Anything other
glad to get it. You're right.
So anyway, so let's. This is still a little bit not particularly about any players with the Cowboys. I kind of wanted to ask about strategy here for the Cowboys, and it goes into perhaps your GM side, I guess. What not? Is there really talk amongst the staff about when to play for a draft pick? Hey, we're going to tank the season, or we're going to win it. Does that really happen on the office side or not?
Yeah. If Will McClay was sitting in my chair right now, he would be telling you he would be giving you the company line. No, you want to play, and really, in honesty. When you're in that chair, you do want to play because you could get fired. That's the thing. You lose enough games, somebody will get rid of you. And that's the biggest fear. That is the fear that, so when you start talking about tanking, in the media side of it, it's really cool because you could say, oh, well, picks, give me the picks and do all that. But on the front office side, you don't talk about it openly. But when you sit in rooms, you talk about, okay, where is this draft going to fall? Where are all the players coming from? How many players does Alabama have this year that we can draft? How many players does Florida have this year that we can draft? Where are they? And it really affects you when you start looking at the order. When you know you're not good enough to fight, when you know you're not good enough to win, that's disheartening. You're not going to quit. But to answer your question, George, you talk about drafting position, but you don't encourage the coaches to try and lose games. But in your heart you're like, we're not good enough. If we end up with the 4th pick and then the 2nd round pick at 31 or 32 or 34, and we get in the 3rd round, we're picking at this number, If you know you're going to get all those high picks, you can help your team. It's when you win that extra game or two, and all of a sudden you go from picking at 6, and now you're picking at 12.
Well,
because your draft board in a lot of ways only has 18 to 20 first-round grades. It's not, your draft board's not set up for 32 first-round or 32 rated players. So when you get to like 21, 22, 23, those are really second-round players. So the difference between picking, say, at 18 and picking at 10 or picking at 4, the level of player you're getting could be pretty significant.
So I want to ask this. You don't have to answer it, obviously, if you don't want to, but it just
I will.
I'm curious about it just because, one, I was kind of put into the situation personally as a player, but I know that we're always speaking of, money. How do you save money? I'm sure that's always kind of a topic. So when you're in a situation like this, and let's say there are contracts that are built with incentives based upon playing time, does that become a conversation where they say, hey, we're not trying to tank the game. I get that, but we're not going to play Jamal Adams except for 85% of the time as opposed to 100% of the time, because if he reaches these numbers, we got to give him an extra $2 million or something.
He's asking for a friend.
Yeah. I'll answer the question because I was never in a situation where we were told to hold a player out because of money. But the cap guys were aware of certain incentives. Now, the general manager or the owner, in the case of the Cowboys, would have a conversation. I never ever in Green Bay, Jacksonville, Philly, Dallas was ever a part of a conversation where it said, hey, hold player X out to keep him from earning his bonus. Never was part of that. But I do know that the cap guys do alert the general manager. They do alert the owners, and those are the conversations they have. Now, I've never been privy of one of those myself. So I can only speak from that experience, but the cap guys, they do know situations, and they do let the appropriate people know what the situation is.
So full disclosure, and me and Tim and JT joke about this all the time, about my time in Miami and how Jimmy and I didn't get along and whatnot. So the premise behind that really is not really asking for a friend. It is because of me. But they were very open about it with the Dolphins. So we actually had playing time posted in our meeting room. So you can go in there, hey, you know, per the game and per the season. And I knew I had a lot of money set in my incentives when I signed with that. I only need to play 50% of the time.
Sure.
And heck, I wasn't starting in the beginning, but I ended up to start. I'm like, well, that's going to be easy money. Well, until I got benched and removed in games a lot of times, and I ended up with like 49.8% of the playing time. I'm like, wait,
you figured it out to the play, didn't you?
Like, wait a minute. Come on.
These cap guys are good. They will figure it out. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So anyway,
I would. It's not surprising, George, because I do know for a fact that these cap guys, they do alert what's going on as far as how money is allocated. It's a terrible way to operate, you know, for a guy to earn the money and not earn the money, you know. And I think if I was a general manager, I would that would be something like I would say, please don't talk to me about this. This guy's played for us. He's maybe it's a situation like you said, you weren't starting and all of a sudden now you're stepping in, playing well. Just give him the money. You know, it makes it easier when they sit down with you the next year face to face and talk about what we're going to do. That way you don't feel like you got worked. You know, you don't want to be a general manager that's working guys and then all of a sudden one of their agents doesn't want to cut a deal with you because you held $250,000 out of George Teague's check. because you were being cheap. Because then you'll lose players. You'll lose agents and players that way by being cheap.
That's right. So, yeah, man.
I got one quick question because I was digging around on you, Mr. Broaddus, trying to figure out some things on the internet, and I want you to confirm something for me. Did you win an Emmy?
I did.
Yeah,
I did. I had a chance. Matter of fact, I had a chance for a second one. And Derek Harper beat me out of it for best commentator, local commentator. Yeah, it was me and Derek Harper and the guy from the Texas Rangers. And so, yeah, I did win a sports Emmy. I've actually, I've won two, but I only get credit for one because I wasn't a member of the Academy. I wasn't a dues paying member of the Academy. So my very first one, they wouldn't give it to me because I wasn't a member of the Academy. I became a member, and then I got one the second year. So I was up 3 years for awards. 2 of them I won. One of them I physically have. So, yes. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, real quick before we let you go, because we're up against it, and you didn't get home to your family, it's late.
Well, I could talk with you guys all night.
I'm not going to ask you to tell the story here, but I am going to tell everybody, if you ever see Broaddus out and about at a bar or a restaurant and he looks approachable and you're not going to feel like you're not going to bother him, you need to ask him about his very, very short stint with the Raiders, because that is my favorite Broaddus story that I've ever heard. And here,
we got time, man. We got time. We need to hear it.
You want to tell? I don't mind. I'm not going to go anywhere. You guys are I love this. I just wish we were at a bar all talking about this with the big plate of wings in front of me.
That's right.
I have a follow-up question regarding Bill Parcells after this that is a Jeff Kavanaugh-fed question.
Okay, well, I leave the Cowboys. Parcells has had enough of me in 2005. I'm working at assistant pro personnel with the Cowboys. Jeff Ireland takes over for Larry Lacewell, and so – I've got a chance to stay with the Cowboys, but Parcells has had enough. I've argued with him. He and I got in a fight about Charles Woodson, and he'd had enough of me. And Brian Gain was a guy they interviewed and wanted to bring in, so that's fine. So my contract runs out in 2005. The end of the week, I get let go on a Monday. End of the week, I'm in Alameda, I'm in Oakland. I'm at the Raiders facility. I'm getting interviewed by Al Davis. Is what I'm doing with Al Davis. And so, I mean, here I am. I mean, his office is gorgeous. I mean, he's got this huge desk, all these trophies and memorabilia and stuff. And he interviews me. He's got 2 little chairs set up out front of his desk. He's got a TV tray like you'd have like in the 60s. You know, if you're eating like a meal in front of you watching TV, he's got that, a rotary phone, and a towel like laid out there. So he and I are like face to face, talking, about the team. He's grinding on me about the Cowboys. I'm asking him questions about the old AFL. I mean, it's like we're really interviewing each other. I'm thinking, hell, if I don't get this job, at least I got to talk to Al Davis. So, okay. So we do this for like 4 hours. We're just talking, And finally, it's like the interview's over, and I thank everybody, and they take me to the airport. I go home. This is May. I don't hear anything from him until August. So I go the whole summer working, nothing. I mean, I'm not doing anything. So he finally calls me, says, hey, he's like, oh, we want to hire you. I mean, we want to bring you out to Oakland. Come on out to Oakland. Well, you can work with us. So I'm like, okay, cool. So at the time, I have my wife, I have Bennett just born, newly born, and so I'm like, guys, I'm going to California. We'll catch up. I'll bring everybody out there. We'll be fine. So I get out there, and I've got my office, and Mr. Davis doesn't work during the day. He works at night. So we're all in our offices watching tape, and but he doesn't come in till like 5 o'clock. So we're all like, I'm like thinking, man, it's time to go home. Well, no, guys are hanging in there like, till midnight and stuff because he's working all night. So anyway, finally, I get to a point where a week goes by. I haven't talked to Mr. Davis about any of my salary or anything like that. Kathy, my wife at the time, goes, when are we coming? What are you doing? I'm like, okay, I'll talk to Mr. Davis. Another week goes by. He doesn't talk to me. 2 weeks. Now Kathy is out of her mind. She's like, what are you doing? And I'm like, I'll wait. I've got to talk to Mr. Davis. So sure enough, I talk to Mr. Davis. I get on one after I go, Mr. Davis, I go, hey, listen, I just kind of wanted to talk about my contract and all that and everything. And he goes, well, Bryan, you enjoying staying at the hotel next door? Yeah, I'm trying to do my Al Davis accent.
It's pretty good.
And he goes, you enjoying the hotel next door? And I'm like, well, Mr. Davis, it's okay. And he goes, what if we try you out? I'll pay you $2,000 a month, and you can live in the hotel next door. And I'm like, Mr. Davis, what, $2,000 and try me out? Yeah, I want to try you out. I'm like, Mr. Davis, I came out here thinking you were going to hire me. He goes, no, I want to try you out first. I want to try you out. You can live at the hotel. I'll pay you $2,000. And I'm like, Mr. Davis, I can't do that. I got a wife and kid at home. He goes, okay, pack your office and go home. And I'm like, okay. So, I mean, I get on a plane, fly back to Dallas. Mike Lombardi, who I'm working with in Oakland, Mike calls me and goes, where the hell are you? I said, I flew home. I said, why'd you fly home? I said, the old man wanted me to put me in the hotel, pay me $2,000. He wanted to try me out. He didn't want to hire me. He just wanted to try me out. And I'm like, what? He goes, well, wait a minute. What? Sure enough, that was the thing of it. Al just wanted to like, okay, we'll see if it can work out. We'll see, Now, the funny thing about this, guys, if I wasn't married with a kid, I would have took him up on it. I would have stayed in that hotel and I would have done that job. And he would have hire me. But, with a wife and kid, I'm like, I was shocked. I mean, I go 2 weeks, I don't even talk to the man. We used to have meetings. In Oakland at early in the morning. And we would meet about what we were not going to tell the old man. Like, seriously. He was like, okay, listen, he's thinking about playing this guy. But we don't want him to play. We'll get beat if we play this guy, right? Right? All right. Yeah. So Mr. Davis then would call all the other scouts, and you could hear the phone ring one at a time. And all he was looking for was one person to say, oh, yeah, Mr. Davis, we could play that guy. Yeah, we could do that. Yeah. That's all he wanted. But seriously, we would meet every morning not to tell or not to come up to tell the old man. It was fast. I mean, it was a great 2 weeks, though. I mean, working in that kind of an organization, it's really intense. But I mean, it was. I was shocked. I mean, when I said, Mr. Davis, I've got a wife and a son, and he goes, well, pack up. You can pack up and go home. And I'm like, okay. I mean, but it was crazy, man.
That's amazing.
I got paid for 2 weeks though. The Raiders gave me a check. They gave me what I was worth for that. They gave me my $2,000, so I was good to go.
God, I love that story.
It's long, but it was the best. It was one of the funnest interviews I've ever been on in my life, though. Al Davis, he is a fascinating man to talk to. Really fascinating.
So they say the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. I know a lot of people say that Mark's a lot like his dad. I don't know if you know the story, Broaddus, about their first season in Las Vegas with that brand new Allegiant Stadium. Yeah. That Mark Davis has still not been to a game at Allegiant Stadium.
Yeah.
Because of the fan situation.
Right.
And the last game that they just played, last week against the Chiefs, Clark County said, okay, you know what? We'll let you have 5,000 fans. Mark Davis said, no, thanks. It's all or nothing. I'm still not going to the game. And they still did no fans. I mean, that's like an Al move, right?
Oh, no, it's an Al move. I talked to John Gruden and I still talk to each other. John and I, we're in a couple places ago. John was with George and I in Green Bay.
Yep.
And then John and I were together in Philly, and John and I still keep in touch. And John's fun to talk about the Raiders stuff. John's got some great Raider stories about Al and his, and about Mark and all that. But the Raiders are like my secret team that I pull for. They're my underground team that I like to. Even though I only worked for 2 weeks. By the way, I still got my dad still wears the sweatshirt that I got. I got some good gear out of that. Dad still wears the sweatshirt. But yeah, the Raiders is kind of my under the radar team that I pull for.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, Broaddus, we appreciate you hopping on here with us. It's been a great show. You're full of insight, full of information. We didn't even really get to touch on a lot of Cowboys stuff, which we could do for another hour, but we don't want to keep you. But can we have you back again here shortly, and maybe we can do it?
No, absolutely. Yeah, I'm starting to work on this draft, and I'll tell you what, Alabama's got a really good corner named Surtain, and I'll tell you how old I am. George, you play with his dad, Patrick?
He was at Miami. He came after me.
Yeah, he's in Miami. Okay, I scouted the dad, and I now have scouted the son.
Wow.
So that tells you how old I am. But yeah, whenever you guys want me back, please. I'm sorry, I went too long on my stories and all that, and the Cowboys are struggling right now. I don't want them to tank, but they're gonna. If they tank and get a high pick, I'll love it. But yeah, but I love being with you guys, and if I could do it again, feel free to bring me on. I'll be happy to make time.
I'm gonna do it. We're gonna get Nate Newton on too. So we'll have that come back on. That'll be good.
Everybody listening, if you want to hear more Broaddus, you can hear him every day from 2 to 7 on 105.3 The Fan here in Dallas. Also during the Cowboys games on the pre and post game show on the Dallas Cowboys Radio Network, along with Ari Temkin. He is a wealth of knowledge, and we appreciate him joining us. Thank you, Bryan. We'll talk to you down the road.
Sounds great, Dennis. Thank you so much, and be safe out there, please.
Take care.
Appreciate you, brother. Thank you.
There he goes, Mr. Bryan Broaddus, staple in the Dallas Cowboys family. We appreciate him hopping on here with us. We're going to take a quick break. And on the other side, we've got Money Matters with JT. He's going to give us an SEC update. We're going to talk about possible NFL coaches on the hot seat, and we might even mention McCarthy's name in there. And then we'll get into some Washington football team, Cowboys. Is Alabama really that good, and should Ohio State be considered for the college football playoff? We'll let you know about that after this.
Personal and commercial needs. Websites built.
You guys got a great show. Take care, guys. Appreciate everybody.
Brent Thomas and ProfoundSites.com provide e-commerce development, website development, online marketing, web, mobile, and e-commerce consulting. With over 10 years experience, Profound Sites is responsible for creating GeorgeTeague.com, where you can hear Teague's Take with George Teague every week. Brent Thomas and Profound Sites can take you through the entire pain-free process of building your new website. From initial discussion to planning, design, to coding and making your site live and discoverable on the internet. Contact Brent Thomas at ProfoundSites.com or email him at brent@ProfoundSites.com.
Hey, sports and sports memorabilia fans, this is IndyCar Tim. I want to talk to you about our new friend Chris Gordon over at the Cowboy House, cowboyhousesports.com on the web. Now, Chris is super passionate about all sports, and that's why the Cowboy House is so much more than just a Dallas Cowboys sports memorabilia store. He's got unique game-used memorabilia and rare, hard-to-find autographs for teams across the globe. Everything from the NFL, MLB, NHL, NBA, golf, UFC, soccer, Olympics, even from Hollywood and the political sector. And his store isn't just a fancy mall store. It's more of a man cave that he likes to share with his friends and customers. Come on into the store at 209 South Shady Shores Drive, Suite 200 in Lake Dallas, and you can walk on the Texas Stadium end zone turf. You can sit in a chair from Yankee Stadium or Texas Rangers Globe Life Park. Check out hundreds of autographed jerseys from hundreds of teams. Check out thousands of photos signed with certificates of authenticity. He's also got custom framing for all of your sports memorabilia items. Chris Gordon over at cowboyhousesports.com, 214-551-5978. Thank you, Cowboy House.
Need a one-stop shop for Cowboys news happening over at the Star in Frisco? Click on over to cowboyssi.com, featuring Mike Fisher with 30 years experience covering America's team. It's the most popular of all Sports Illustrated sites and home to the Cowboys Blitzcast podcast. CowboysSI.com is the place to get inside your Cowboys. With such a talented team of writers and reporters over there, you'll always know the latest about personnel and roster moves, salary cap issues, and draft class status. Click on over to CowboysSI.com and get the inside scoop on America's team.
3R Sports Graphics. Hello, everybody. You've probably seen the graphics that are out on social media every week that announce the guest for Teague's Take for that week, as well as their credentials listed there on the graphic as well. Those come from our good friend Tyler Sanders over at 3R Sports Graphics. Now, he only works for schools, so we need to mention that. Some of his proud schools are Liberty Christian, Parish Episcopal, Legacy Christian, and Fort Worth Christian. These are custom graphics for your school's athletic our sports graphics, and you will work one-on-one with a graphic designer. You will get final score graphics the night of the game, unlimited graphics with a 1-year contract, and you can fulfill the sports information director role of a school, but for a fraction of the cost. And he will handle this for you every week. He puts it out on social media for you as well. He handles that. Give Tyler Sanders a call with 3R Sports Graphics, 713-933-9767, or you can shoot him an email, tsanders2405@gmail.com. Tyler Sanders, 3R Sports Graphics, on Twitter at 3R Sports and the number 1. And check out his Twitter feed. He's got all of the examples. You can scroll through his feed and look at all of the graphics as he's done for everybody. Tyler Sanders, 3R Sports Graphics. Give him a call now. Thank you, Tyler. Hello again. We are back. I'd like to welcome everybody that has watched us on YouTube, Facebook, Periscope. We want to thank everybody for the comments that we've seen tonight. Bryan, what a freaking awesome wealth of knowledge he is. And we didn't even get to touch on a lot of George Teague stories or Green Bay stories with him. But, man, he had so much that I wanted to get to, and we could have gone the whole hour.
Yeah, definitely. He's, man, wealth of knowledge. And just to hear him talk about scouting and how it wanted to become a GM. And, yeah, I mean, it's awesome, man. That is one of the best guests that we've had.
He texted me here during that break right after he got off. He said, man, fun time. Thanks, guys. I'll come back anytime.
Yes, sir.
So we need to have him back just as soon as we possibly can. It is that time of the show that is America's favorite Teague's Take segment. It is time for Money Matters. JT?
Yeah, so we've got an SEC update brought to you by ProfileSites.com. First topic is Sarah Fuller being the first woman to play in a Power 5 collegiate football game. That drew a lot of eyes to the Vanderbilt game, and it also might have played a part in Vanderbilt's coach being fired, because Vanderbilt was so bad that they couldn't even get her into field goal range to even attempt a field goal. So she got to kick off at the beginning of the game, and then because they did not score, that was it. That was the day.
She didn't even kick a field goal or an extra point or anything?
Nope. They
kick.
got beat 41-0.
And it was the squib kick.
Yep, she squibbed to start the game, and then never got to see the field after that because Vanderbilt's offense is atrocious.
So do you think the squib kick was intentional, or is that just the best she can do?
According to the coach, it was intentional.
I was concerned when I saw that. I'm like, wait,
I think
they make a huge mistake.
Now, I think that I think it's twofold. She probably wasn't going to get it to the end zone, which is fine. There's a lot of NCAA kickers that can't get it to the end zone.
Kathy,
I also think that Vanderbilt's coverage team was probably so bad that they also didn't want her to kick it, and then
she had to make a tackle.
Yes, and then they have to run it back. So they just decided to go ahead and squib it, be safe, get off the field, and then didn't do much of anything else, including play defense.
I guess I didn't know Vanderbilt was that bad. I want to say the Aggies struggled a little bit against Vanderbilt.
They did. That was a 17-12 game or something like that.
Yeah, see, I mean, they're not that bad.
Well, so at the beginning of the month, there's a website that's called coacheshotseat.com, which really has no bearing on anything, but it's always kind of cool to look at. There were 5 4 SEC coaches in the top 10 for being on the hot seat, and 2 of them have been fired already. Derek Mason from Vanderbilt being one, and Will Muschamp at South Carolina being the other one, which I thought was long overdue. I'm surprised he actually kept the job as long as he did. I think that was only because his buyout was something like $13 million, and they didn't want to pay it, but they decided to do it anyway. And then later on this week, we found out that Georgia's athletic director has resigned. Since 2018, I think he's just been signing 1-year deals, just because I'm not sure why. He said in 2017 that he didn't want to do it anymore, but he kept signing temporary deals, and this time he finally said that at the end of December, he's going to be done. So I wonder, this is the same guy that let Mark Richt stay on forever. So I wonder what the next guy is going to think when it comes to evaluate Kirby Smart's performance.
He can't beat Saban. He was brought there to beat Saban, and that has not happened
he was actually,
yet.
and he was even the lowest bar is to be better than Mark Richt, and so far, they're the same coach. They have Kirby Smart has better recruiting classes, but the results have been exactly the same.
Dude, they started Jake Fromm or whatever his name is forever.
Yeah.
But anyway.
And they lost Eason.
From's better than the dude they got now. What is he? Henry Ellington the Fourth or whatever the hell his name is?
Yeah, you talking about Stetson Bennett. No, he is better than Stetson Bennett, but because they started because they started Stetson Bennett, or not Stetson Bennett. See, look, you haven't messed up now. Because they started Jake Fromm, they lost Justin Fields to Ohio State. He was the guy that probably should have been starting. And
you think?
Yeah. I mean, it was Texas A&M light as far as like what happened to the quarterbacks of Georgia. And then LSU, oh poor LSU, they've had a rough week. They found out
they're not gonna fire Coach O, are they?
No, they're not gonna fire Coach O. Of course not.
He's got 10 years.
Oh yeah, I mean they let Les Miles stay around forever. They're not firing him anytime soon. But they found out that they do in fact have to play Alabama. They actually, they kicked Arkansas to the curb. They told Alabama they don't have to play Arkansas anymore. They get to play LSU instead. Then they, as in the New York Times, writes a scathing piece about LSU covering up many Title IX violations that will inevitably be added to the investigation that we talked about a couple of weeks ago.
Let's compare the source there with the New York Times. I mean, they don't exactly write. They're kind of like the New York Post these days. It's kind of a National Enquirer type newsletter here that we have.
You think so?
I
mean, I'm not sure, because the thing about Darius Gase has been around for a while, and I think it came to a head with what happened with football team, which is why they had to let him go. But anyways, the last thing with LSU is that Terrace Marshall, their last receiver, has decided as of like Sunday.
What is happening with your computer, George? Are you having
he's typing
in McKinney?
I'm typing because my little cousin here just put that Bama's going to beat LSU 73-3.
It looks like your house is shaking.
Yeah, so I got it on a little stand and lift it up a little bit. So
Terrace Marshall has opted out as of Sunday, which was their last starting receiver. After this is after he was touting himself as the last person on the team that wanted to fight for the season, and he did all the rah-rah trying to get his teammates to actually care and try to play. And then I think he woke up and saw the news that he had to play Alabama on Saturday and decided, nah, never mind, not about that.
Well, the reports came out that he had told his friends and his buddies that what was the last game that he played, whatever it was, that a couple of weeks before that game that he was saying that was going to be his last game.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and then Coach O said that's first he heard of it. Like, he didn't know anything about it. So I don't know who you want to believe, but it sounds like he's just getting ready for the draft. And
I'm not believing Coach O for anything.
Yeah, I was about to say, what? I'm out on that too.
Not standing coon ass like I am.
Well, he can go coach for Texas A&M next. Yeah. Or whatever.
He might. I mean, he's like me.
I
What do you
wonder
mean?
why you see programs like
From Southern Louisiana. That's where I was born.
yeah,
What,
I
in the
wonder why you
swamp?
see- yeah.
Yep. I was born in the swamp.
Tell us the
You're
name
born,
of the
like-
city.
Name of the city is Homa. Just look it up on a map.
I'm about to look it up right now.
Yeah, I ain't even gonna go there.
It is
Homa.
about as far south as you can get without being in the Gulf of Mexico.
Oh, it has a U in it.
Yeah, HOUMA. You're listening to live coverage. Jake,
Yikes.
looking up my birthplace on Google Maps.
Oh,
Yeah,
my
that's
God.
a place. Like, how far is this from civilization?
It's about an hour and 10 minutes southwest of New Orleans, and probably an hour about the same. It's right in between New Orleans and Baton Rouge, but it's south. It's farther south.
You had a high school?
How can you possibly be farther south than New Orleans? Like, that's not. There's nothing. That's
in
not
New
a
Orleans,
place.
yeah, it is. If you go to the west a little bit,
No, there's just water.
just look at a map.
No, I'm looking at the map. It ain't nothing but water and alligators. And,
If you look up Homa, HOUMA, Louisiana. Oh, you know what? I don't need you to do it. I can do it right here.
So the
I'm
U is
looking at the
silent. What
Wikipedia
is
page.
this? How's it called Homa? I'm trying to figure out where this U comes in at.
Because it's French.
that don't sound like a JT. Is that a French word? Hey, Joe.
I'm not buying that one.
Well, it is. Everything down there is French. What do you think Baton Rouge means?
Land claimed from the Homa Indians by the Spanish. So
There you go.
Yeah, so
there's
like
33,000 people that live there, though.
Terrebonne Pier. We're about to share it right now.
Are they all hams?
How to do this?
Are they
I
all
heard,
hams?
I heard there's more alligator out there than there is.
Yeah, there is. Right there. See that red pin? Well, the red pin was there. Why is the red pin not there now?
It's
Because
down
it don't
there by the
exist.
Bayou Terrebonne Wildlife Museum. Which is
Terrebonne.
what I'm saying. Look at all that green. Ain't nothing. This is just it's
Terrebonne.
wildlife and like 6 people that live out here.
Yeah, it's an oil field town. But you can see where it is in conjunction.
Is that your house that you pinned in on right over here on the left? What is that? That's your driveway?
That's just yeah. There, JT, to your right. You can go south of New Orleans and then go to the west, and it's right there. That's
oh my gosh.
where IndyCar 10 was birthed.
This is just the Everglades. And
Terrebonne Parish General Hospital.
How did we get here? We were on the SEC update. How did we end up in Homa?
Oh, hey! Oh. Homa, Louisiana.
I don't know how it got here.
So did you have a pet alligator or something? How long were you there? And now that
No,
we're going here, how long? What?
It was a
You
meerkat.
You were just born there?
I was born there. We moved to Texas when I was 3. But then we moved to Montreal and then back to Homa and then Montreal, then back to Dallas, then Homa, then Montreal, then Homa, then Dallas. My dad worked in the oil field. We did a lot of traveling.
Oh my gosh.
He worked in the swamp for real.
I don't understand.
Was your house on stilts, like in the water?
No, it wasn't that close to the coast. We're not that close to the coast.
You don't have to be that close to the coast to be in a swamp.
And, New Orleans is below sea level, but we weren't. Homa is above sea level.
So you can
By
when we
what,
go
like
down
6
there.
inches?
So you have one of those little boats. They're not pontoon boats, whatever. So you can give us on one of those little tours where we can go.
Heck yeah.
You got the airboat.
got an airboat?
I know
an
people
airboat.
do. I don't have. Why would I have one? I live in Paloma Creek with you.
Well, I mean, now you do.
I can't get one of those down 380.
All right. There's a lake behind your house.
Gosh. Yeah. Hey, you gotta be careful, man. I don't know, man. I'm learning some stuff about Tim. I'm glad. Thank you for bringing this up and letting us know.
Yeah,
Because I don't know. I think that put y'all on the hot seat as well. Puts him on the hot seat that I didn't know
Probably
didn't know my producer was from
LSU territory.
Yeah, I mean that's really interesting how you ended up becoming.
Worse that I was born in LSU territory, or that I went to A&M, which is worse.
Oh,
I'm gonna say the A&M one because you made that decision.
That's true.
okay.
Well, my family made it for me, but they paid for it, so
Well,
I didn't have to worry about it.
I can forgive you for the Texas A&M thing, but I can't. I don't know. I wanted to make that trip. I'm gonna put this on the air right now. We got to make this trip because I just need to see. There's probably some great crawfish down there. I'm probably able to get some good eating.
Oh, it's the best. The eating is the best.
Better than SpaghettiOs or whatever it was that you had last week.
I had Chef Boyardee beef ravioli out of the can right before we went on the air.
That's all right. JT's finally learned what it means to eat baby food right now. So he's tasting all typical food.
No, not yet.
That's true.
Yeah, down there talking about gator bites because he's down there from Florida. But anyway,
back on track and talk about some NFL coaches on the hot seat. Are you done with that, JT?
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
That's it.
So NFL coaches on the hot seat. I've got some names listed here. Of course, Matt Patricia was already fired by the Lions. Is Adam Gase next? He seems like the next logical firing. And actually, that could be a total cleaning house of everybody. Trade Darnold, fire Gase, fire the GM, just literally start from scratch. Doug Peterson, I don't know how many years that Super Bowl is going to buy him. Probably not very many the way they're playing now. And he is the biggest proponent on the team, by the way, for Carson Wentz. Carson Wentz has a big bag of nothing. He has regressed more and more every year. His 15 picks lead the league this year, and they're ugly picks. They're not. I mean, I've watched some of their games, and they're it's not balls getting tipped. He's not even hitting his receivers. The balls are going somewhere completely different than where the receiver's going. And you know what? Sometimes you can blame that on the receiver. They had a different read than he did. But at some point, you got to call it what it is. And he's just not good.
Did you see that interception he threw at the end of the game? Past Goddard, straight into whatever that DB's name was.
Yeah, terrible. That was bad. Then we got Anthony Lynn with the Chargers. I guarantee you, boys, he is gone.
You think so?
Yeah.
I feel like I would have exchanged his name for somebody else.
I don't necessarily agree with it, but I don't see him being there. And if he is, it's one more year. And if they don't improve drastically over their 2 wins that they've got so far this year, even with the rookie quarterback, man, he's better than 2 wins this year. Mike McCarthy's name has been tossed out. I don't know how legit that is. I don't think Jerry's going to make that move and pull that trigger after 1 year with all the injuries and COVID and all that. I don't see that happening. Yeah. Doug Marrone, of course, Jacksonville.
He at least has his job through the rest of the year, according to the owner.
He got the dreaded vote of confidence.
That's the same thing I said when I saw it.
Zach Taylor in Cincinnati. They're going to, again, rookie quarterback, and they were playing well before Burrow goes down. So I don't know how much credence there is to that. Joe Judge, I think, is safe. He was just a name that was mentioned online that I looked up. I think Joe Judge is safe. They're probably going to win that division. They win the division. I don't care what happens in your first playoff game. You're keeping your job.
Well,
if you throw Vic Fangio on this list,
yes,
yeah, I mean,
yeah.
See, I mean, he could be on the list. Like, he's probably more likely than Mike McCarthy or Zach Taylor, but I don't see Denver.
What about Nagy?
He's done the same thing that
Nagy needs to be on the list for sure.
Vance Joseph did.
He might be gone.
I mean, he's not any better than him, and they fired him after a couple.
Yeah.
Does anybody else feel the same way that I do about John Elway being a terrible GM?
Oh, he's the worst.
Okay.
I can't believe. And you know what? But the problem is he's going to be there as long as he wants to be there.
Yeah, I know, because remember what I was talking about last time. As soon as you start hiring people close to your organization, it's hard to get rid of them.
Yeah.
It's a GM, though, man. That's a critical spot, bro.
Yeah,
He's not
well,
just the GM. He's like the team president, dude. He wears so many hats in that organization. So yeah, I mean, dude, he will retire and when he wants on his time. I don't think the Broncos will ever get rid of him.
So do you guys think in this, I know, after you're getting into week 13, you're not making the playoffs. So you're really going to go ahead and fire the guy now and not give him 2-3 more weeks to finish out? Or you just got to say, we got to go ahead and do it? And what benefits do you have for doing it?
Well, I think if you're out of it, you go ahead and do it now. Start your search now. Like, why?
yeah, you don't want to be late.
Yeah, what's the point in hanging on to him? You know what? That gives him an opportunity to go find something else, more time. I mean, he's not going to get hired during the season, but he'll at least have an opportunity to know that he ain't going to be there and that he can start looking for stuff. And you as a team, everybody knows that position's available, and you can start talking to people. I mean, more time is better.
Have you thought of who the next candidates might be? Have you even got that far to think who really could replace? If there's another 3 or 4 guys go down, there's 5 openings.
Well, everybody's got to look at Eric Bieniemy. I mean, he's got to be first and foremost. Robert Saleh out in San Francisco. I think Ken Norton deserves a look up in Seattle. I got no problem with Ken Norton.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think Bieniemy's going to get his sooner or later. A lot of people were catching a lot of flack because of the Rooney Rule and all that. Now they really taking a look or not. But I think with this time, under, one of the best coaches out there, I think you really have to consider, not just play calling, but I'm sure he's giving them pretty good insight on how to run an organization or a team as well.
How about Jason Garrett?
That's interesting. That's interesting. I mean, I don't see why not. I mean, other coaches have done. I mean, come on. Adam Gase has a job.
Wow.
Jason Garrett can't get one?
Dude, he is more clueless than Jason Garrett ever was.
So why hadn't Adam Gase been fired? You're 0-10. You hadn't gotten any better at all. You've traded out some people, got rid of. Well, I don't know if that's the GM or him. I don't think he's a GM as well, is he?
No, he is the GM.
Yeah. Okay.
So, Adam Gase is the head coach and the GM.
God, was a terrible hire.
Yeah. So they've traded off talented people. You're kind of like Houston. It reminds me of Houston a little bit. Other than
it is Houston. It's Houston 2.0. Except they waited just as long.
Yeah, Bill O'Brien was better than Adam Gase.
Well, it's the Jets, though, man. It's the Jets.
Yeah. No, I agree.
Bill O'Brien, I'll give you Bill O'Brien being a better coach than Adam Gase. I don't know that I'd say he's a better GM. Because at least,
well, I don't think coaches should be GMs. Any of them.
No, I don't think so either.
I don't think that should be a thing. You should have a separate coach and a separate GM. I don't think they should be the same person. I don't feel like that ever works.
That's how they have to hire him, though, sometimes, to get him in there. They want complete control.
That's the only reason.
Here's a name for you. Here's a hot seat take for you. What about Mike Zimmer?
Oh, yeah. He is on the hot seat.
Like, I don't think he should be, but he can only work with the quarterback that they gave him. Because that defense is bad, which is his forte. Right, George? You know about that.
Yeah, I do. But, it's unfortunate, like you said, again, But, when I was with the Browns doing my little piece up there, the one thing that the coaches told me, Dave Campo in particular, and we were talking about this because as coaches, you kind of handed these players that the general manager get, or that Bryan Broaddus and all those guys, help bring into you. And he said, hey, and, you kind of complain sometimes, or, man, I wish I had a little bit different makeup or a different person. And he quickly kind of shut me up and said, hey, you got to coach the guys that you got and make the best out of it, because if you don't, we're all going to get our asses fired. Anyway, so when you it's going back into that comment you made about not being the GM and the coach, and I think that's why a lot of times the coaches say, hey, man, I got to get my dues. If I'm going to go down, at least let me go down with the guys that I think I need to have, and not the guys that you gave me
right,
that I need to try to make it into. So,
what did Bill Parcells say? He said, "Don't make me cook if you don't let me buy the ingredients."
yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I'm out of
That's not working out for Jim Harbaugh.
Oh my gosh.
Is he going to get fired? You didn't have. Well, you were talking about SEC updates. Is he not going to get fired?
He's not going to get fired.
No.
No, they're going to let. I really think they're just going to let his contract expire.
Oh yeah, the Jason Garrett effect.
Which means we have one more year.
How many more years is that?
One
more year of losing to Michigan State, Rutgers, Ohio State,
a winless Penn State,
Wisconsin, Penn State. Everybody.
Well, okay. Well, do we need to pay any more bills, Tim, before we go on to these next segments, or did you get them all in?
Yeah, no, we got one more. We're gonna. It's a short one. We need to get some more sponsors in, and we're gonna come back and discuss the Cowboys losing to football team and show you some interesting NFC East predictions for everybody. We'll be back right after this.
Increase time inside your home, noticing all the little things needing attention? Let Repair Resource be your one trusted contractor to tackle all of your home repair needs. They do it all: electrical, plumbing, drywall, painting, and flooring of all types. They can even handle your exterior needs, like fencing, patio covers, concrete pads, and decking. No job too big or small. Repair Resource does it all. Call them at 972-415-1198 or visit them online at www.repair-resource.com.
Hey, this is IndyCar Tim. I want to talk to you about the Maverick Bar and Grill in Carrollton, Texas. It's North Dallas's premier sports bar and grill located at 1616 West Hebron Parkway. It's 16 minutes from just about anywhere in the DFW Metroplex. With all of the live action on dozens of TVs and the big screen, it's the place to hang out and watch the return of sports with all your friends. Friday and Saturday nights, you'll find the best live music in DFW right there at the Maverick Bar. And of course, on Thursday nights at 6 p.m., you'll find Teague's Take broadcasting live with Alabama and Cowboys legend George Teague. Come hang out and be part of the show. Check out the Maverick Bar and Grill in Carrollton, 972-492-7500, or on the web at themaverickbar.com.
Meat Church. Do you need to take your barbecue and grilling game to the next level? Check out the great line of products from Meat Church Barbecue. From seasoning and rubs to full-blown recipes like pork belly burnt ends, smoked queso, beef ribs to smoked bologna, and Texas-style brisket, Meat Church has what you need. If your barbecue and grilling game is lacking, check out their barbecue classes and events. They'll help you raise your game to impress your friends and family. If you're in the Waxahachie area, please check out their store at 205 West College Street or give them a call at 214-980-1063 or head on over to meatchurch.com for locations near you where all their great products are available. Or order directly from them online at meatchurch.com.
Told you we'd be right back, and I was not kidding. We want to welcome everybody here this second half, listening on your favorite podcast app. We ask that you subscribe. You like the show, you leave us a great review on Apple Podcast or wherever you are listening. And to those of you on Facebook, on YouTube, on Periscope, we do have the comment section open. And, of course, we encourage you to interact with us a little bit. Say hi. Let us know what you're thinking, your thoughts on what we're talking about, and how dumb I am, because nobody likes to hear what I have to say, apparently.
No, but you know who did something really good last week, and I gifted him for it?
What's that?
JT made a great prediction about how many more games the Washington Redskins would win, and he said that they would beat the Dallas Cowboys. I don't think he said he was going to beat them by that much, but
no, I didn't think it was going to be that bad.
He did come by the house. We had a small deal with the family for Thanksgiving, and I gifted him one of these new Teague's Take.
I got one.
Yeah, man.
Yeah,
so
I want you to know, Tim, how much I struggled getting you that cup.
Why?
Because
they're nice.
I got on my bike and decided that
your bicycle?
Yes. I decided that I was going to run my dog to your house. And it's only 2 miles. And I was like, yeah, we 2 miles on a bike, no problem. But it's apparently slightly uphill. And the day that I decided to go, it was super windy. So we almost did make it. And then when we did make it, I had half of mine to call my wife and be like, "Hey, can you just come pick us up? I don't know if I'm gonna make it back."
You're embarrassing me, dude. You're embarrassing me, dog.
It was cold. It was windy. It was uphill, and I got lost. Yeah, I took a right on one of those streets over there. I was on Castle whatever, and then took a right.
Street. Yeah.
He didn't want to put Tide. Tide is the name of his dog. If we hadn't talked about that, he didn't want to have to put Tide on the handlebars and try to take him back to the house because his dog weighs about how heavy is Tide?
He's about 120 pounds.
Yeah, 125-pound Australian Ridgeback. Is that what you're?
Rhodesian Ridgeback.
Rhodesian Ridgeback. So these. They'll put this. What don't we got something to kind of talk about where we at? Are the Cowboys gonna make it out of fourth place? Tim, show us what the standings look like with the NFC East right now, because with the way things are falling out, man, do we even have a chance?
And this is current as of today, as of the Eagles' last loss Monday night against the Seahawks. Of course, you got the Giants leading the division at 4-7. By the way, that FPI is the ESPN Football Power Index. That's our prediction to win the division. 35% for the Giants. Washington football team also with a 4-7 record, but second in the division due to the head-to-head with the Giants, the loss, with a 31% chance to win the division. The Eagles with that Week 1 tie, and I thought for sure that Week 1 tie was going to come into play at some point to win the division or lose the division. They're a 3-7-1 with a 30% FPI chance to win. And then, of course, you have in fourth place in the division in the NFC worst, Cowboys at 3-8 with a 4.5% chance to win the division.
How can that be possible when you're one game out? I don't know the rest of the
you got to look at the rest of the schedule and how, like, what paths and how much help the Cowboys need to get out of the hole they're in.
Well, we need to catch the Ravens without Lamar Jackson.
Doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. Come on, man. They got no running back.
It's RG3, right?
Yeah, and watch. RG3 hadn't played one snap, and he's going to come back looking like a MVP, Heisman winner, just because they're playing the Cowboys on Monday night.
Yeah, that happens. That's actually a thing.
JT hating on us, man. The Cowboys. I'd rather have a good side conversation with him after the show or something, man.
Hey, I mean, if they can show me that they're worth anything.
Well,
I mean, I still don't think they have won a game against the team with a winning record.
The Ravens?
I have any of these guys?
The Cowboys.
The Cowboys. And I don't, because I don't know who else to. The Eagles. The other three teams still have to play. Which one do we have left?
Football team has one more division game left. They will win it.
Is it the Eagles?
It's the Eagles.
Yeah.
That's why I said last week that I think football team is going to end up winning the division. The Giants still have to play the Eagles and the Cowboys.
How much of a genius is Ron Rivera going to look like if they win this division? I mean, he kind of predicted it like in week 3 when he benched Haskins and said, we're going to start somebody good because we might win this division.
Not like much, but I don't know. It's just bad, man. It's hard football to watch, as much as we love the Cowboys and try to like the NFC East. You got Daniel Jones running for touchdowns, falling down. You got
triple the chalk.
Yeah, it's just bad for Carson Wentz just throwing the ball to anybody other than his people. Oh,
Zeke handing the football over.
Is this Zeke's career record in fumbles for?
I think it was his career record as soon as he lost his second one.
Yeah, well, no, because I think his season high was 2. Well, he's at 5 now, right?
Yeah, 5 or 6.
5 or 6. So yeah, his season high before was 2
in 11 games. Come on, man. That's a lot.
I guarantee he's going to have a couple more before the end of the year.
Well, because he's probably getting his drink on out here right about now, not worried about anything.
Who can blame him?
You know, this isn't good, and that's.
You know the Cowboys. This division has actually made me purchase Red Zone
because you want to find out what the hell's going on. Is that what you're saying?
No, because in market on the 2 games that I get to watch, it's 2 of these 4 teams every week, and I don't want to watch it, so I paid some extra money just to watch everybody else because this is atrocious.
Oh yeah. It is hard to watch. It's very hard. As big as it
is. I always look for the NFC East games to watch. If it's football team versus Giants or Eagles versus Giants, man, I'm watching that.
Man, I'm going Mahomes. I have to admit, I'm going Mahomes now, just because of some excitement and some run around and some ad-libbing. Come on, man. Tyreek Hill went for almost 300 yards the other day, backflipping in the end zone.
266 yards and 3 touchdowns in the first quarter.
They should have tried to break the record. I was hoping Andy Reid was just going to let's just break every records.
Did he catch another pass the rest of the game?
I don't know.
He caught a couple shorter ones that I think he just had to throw them to him just because.
They just quit going to him. I mean, because the record's like, what, 340 something maybe?
Yeah, they could have easily got it.
Yeah.
They could have easily got it. And I think they should have went for it. But
that was disappointing.
Speaking of how good they are, how good is Alabama right now? Man, I got to get out of that slump talking about these other bad teams. So give me something good about these Alabama dudes. Did you see Devontae Smith doing his thing again? Breaking other records.
I think he's going to be good. I'm just going to make a prediction that he's going to be good.
He's going to be good.
Yeah,
I'm going out on a limb that
on paper, he is not he's not necessarily just what you want to see on paper. But when you watch the film,
yes,
none of that matters.
Right.
Is he another CD Lamb?
I think his
I think he's better.
I think his comparison is going to be like
Julio
Marvin
Jones.
Harrison.
I think
not Julio Jones, because Julio is just a freak.
He's too big. Yes.
I think he's going to be more of a Marvin Harrison type, just a technician, not very big, but somehow always open, running past people, running away from
trying to go an Alabama comparison.
Oh no, JT, I had to put this up there, this rated board. Do you remember this young gentleman? Because I need to tell him before he gets off. Coach DeBoard, I promise you I'm going to call you tomorrow. Thank you for jumping in and listening to the show. Coach DeBoard gave me my first coaching job at Harvest Christian Academy back in the early 2000s. It's great to see him. Right. Sorry to interrupt that. Just when anytime you see loved ones like that, because Waylon and I talk about him all the time, in his family. So
I thought you were just trying to cover up JT's face for a minute.
Yeah, so how you get this thing over here?
Just click it again.
Okay.
Off.
You're the man. So anyway, what were we saying about the comparisons here? Marvin Harrison.
Yeah, Marvin Harrison's a good one.
Yeah, I think he's kind of built like him because when I'm looking at him, he looks kind of thin a little bit.
175 pounds.
Yeah, so I'm like, and I don't know that makes a difference. I don't know how big Calvin Ridley is and some of those other guys, but he just looks in this once you start taking it. I don't know because I look at the Jefferson kid at Minnesota, Justin Jefferson. Again, I don't know how big he is. It's amazing how good these rookies, these first-year guys are just lighting it up.
Well, but look where they came from. These aren't just any rookies out of any conference. We're talking about Justin Jefferson out of LSU.
Yep.
Played in the SEC. CeeDee Lamb, of course, he played in the Big 12 where there is no defense. So that's all he was used to doing was catching the ball. He had lots of practice. But, yeah, these rookie receivers that are killing it, they've got some experience under their belts.
Okay, so Devontae is a junior, correct?
I believe
Is he
so.
at the 20 year,
Yeah,
20 age
no,
mark to where he can
no, he's a
draft?
senior. He's a senior.
Oh, is
He's a senior. So who goes first? Waddle, since you put this up here, or Devontae? Who you draft first?
If you gave me the option, assuming Waddle is okay, give me Jalen Waddle.
So you think he's going early first round?
Waddle?
Yeah.
Or you mean
Waddle will come off the board first.
Broaddus just came on and said Mac Jones is being looked at in the late first round.
yes.
By everybody. So that would tell me, if you think Waddle's going before Jones, that you think Waddle's a top 20 pick.
Yes.
Okay.
I would guess probably around somewhere between 16 and 18 is probably where I would.
See, I think Surtain's probably a first round pick.
I think so too.
Just because of the position that he plays, and it's a very thin position in this draft.
Top half or bottom half? I don't know what all the other corners look like out there. You know, is he
top? I'd say top 20.
So you guys have just said we're going to have at least.
I think Smith and Waddle are late first.
You just said 4 Bama guys in the first round. In the top half of the
3 for sure. Mac Jones is the one that I'm not sure about, only because you see teams do things like draft Mitchell Trubisky super high,
second overall,
and Daniel Jones, and you're like, wait, where did these guys come from? Now, I'm not saying Daniel Jones is bad, but I'm just saying, like, he was not in the top 5 of quarterbacks we thought was coming off the board early. So I could see a scenario where Mac Jones goes like 32nd to whoever, who's the dude that the Packers picked just because.
The love guy.
Yeah.
Jordan Love.
Like that stuff happens all the time. So, Mac Jones, he's if he slips to the second round, it won't shock me, is all I'm saying.
No, but I think Surtain's a first rounder for sure. I still think Jones will go first round. Yeah, barring anything weird happening like what you described. I still think Smith and Waddle are probably early second round. That's the fun of the draft, man. You just have to wait and see. And that surprised you, like the Giants picking Daniel Jones 6th overall.
So let's go ahead and mark it whenever the date comes out. The live, if you don't have one on your other podcast there, Tim, maybe we need to have the live broadcast during the draft, at least the first day, and have our predictions out and ready on who's going next. That'll be fun.
Yeah, we can talk about it. Sure. I don't know what's going on with our Cowboys Blitzcast, if we're going to do a draft show or not, but maybe we can do it all together. That'd be fun.
I'd be down.
Let's combine 2 shows and make it a Cowboys intense draft show. Do it live during the draft and mix some Teague's Take with some Cowboys Blitzcast and get you guys and me and Colby on, and maybe we can get Broaddus on with us. And he'll probably be busy for the Cowboys.
Yeah, I would think so. So I'm looking at the thing you got up here, looking at the rest of the schedule for the SEC schedule, and it's Bama. How bad are we going to beat LSU for real?
Oh God,
Georgia over Vandy. Who's Florida got?
Florida got
Tennessee. So is that the SEC championship game for real? Bama, Florida.
Yeah, it's all but a guarantee at this point.
Okay. And I think that's going to be ugly for Florida.
I think it'll be a high scoring game. Whatever the over under is, I'm taking the over in that game.
What if the over under is 68?
You're talking about
the over.
You're talking about Alabama, Florida?
Yeah.
Yeah, the SEC championship game.
Yeah, I'll take the over on 68.
Over 68?
Nah, bro.
Yeah, it'll be like 49-21.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
I'm bad at math.
That's 70.
It's 70.
Okay, I knew that. I was testing y'all.
Oh gosh. Okay. Well, make your prediction on this one then, JT. Because I'm assuming Sarah Fuller's going to play again this week.
She
I think they
might
said
be
we're going to do that.
this week.
So is she going to score any points against Georgia?
Well, who did Vanderbilt play last week?
Missouri, I think.
And they didn't get a point.
Missouri. So we're saying now that they might score a field goal against Georgia.
No.
They might put the backups in though. It might
I don't think she's going to score, and I also don't think it's going to be any fault of her own.
Man, well, no, none of this is her fault. She can't help what team she plays for. But will she take a kickoff into the end zone?
No,
in that game.
No.
Will she make a kickoff past the 20, the opposing 20?
Only if if they let the ball roll to get to the returners in the back.
Why is he doing this? Is this a publicity stunt?
They don't have any kickers left.
They are out.
Vanderbilt does not have a men's soccer team.
Well, they probably don't need a men's. No school should have a men's soccer team. That is a woman's activity.
What are you talking about?
Notice I didn't say sport.
What are you talking about? You got to be out on the pitch. You're going to have my soccer coaches calling me tomorrow talking about this.
There we go.
Coach O already on the show. That's my Coach O, not the other Coach O.
The other Coach O. Bad Coach O.
Okay, well, so with these rivalry games, right, I got to give you another big roll tide real fast because we kicked the hell out of that other school in Alabama.
School out east.
Yes, that other school out east. Yeah, you can let it play, baby.
You can talk over it. Go ahead.
Is the Iron Bowl the number one rivalry game in football? If not, which bowl game is by you guys? Tim, you go first. Who's the number one rivalry game?
When you said biggest rivalry games, rank rivalry, I thought you meant like Alabama's rivalry, like who are their biggest rivals? You're talking about in college football. Who are the biggest football?
So I'll give you a minute to think about that. You got Alabama, you got Alabama, Auburn, you got Michigan, Ohio State, you got OU, Texas, obviously. You got Army, Navy.
You got
Harvard, Florida. You got Georgia, Florida. You got Miami, Florida State.
Georgia, Auburn.
Georgia, Florida.
Georgia, Auburn. You got USC, Notre Dame. Who?
USC, Cal.
USC.
Or Cal, Stanford, sorry.
All of West Coast rivalries, that's all BS. That's like tier football out there. I don't even Stanford, Cal. You know what? You guys are second tier teams. I don't care about any of that. Give me if you want to start with the greatest conference in college football, if that's going to tell you the greatest rivals, then I would offer Georgia, Florida. I would offer Alabama, Auburn. If you want to go outside of I think Texas OU is a huge rivalry. I think Michigan, Ohio State's a great rivalry. If you want to go age, historically, man, you mentioned Harvard, Yale. Dude, I think that's Harvard, Yale, and Army, Navy might be the two. I know not nationally or TV wise, they're not the biggest rivalry games, but I think for the game itself and where college football started and where it came from, those might be the two biggest. Like, I would love to see a Harvard Yale game at the Yale Bowl. I would love to see an Army Navy game. I'd love to go back in time and see an Army Navy game at the Vet at Veteran Stadium.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, they're playing the Army Navy game for the first time at West Point since 1943.
Yeah, that's going to be cool. That's really going to be cool. So, and I know. I don't know. I want to hear what JT has to say before I got anything. What are you thinking about these games? What intrigues you the most?
Yeah, so I was debating on nostalgia kind of stuff versus like implications. So on one hand, it was Harvard Yale, because Harvard Yale, they do some like next level pranks to each other during the games, and it's cool because it's kind of like all in good fun. You know, it's not malicious or anything like that. They just, you know, they have some Harvard students that might go over to the Yale side and pretend to be Yale students and like hand out these cards and have everybody hold it up, and it ends up saying Yale sucks and nobody knows until it gets shown on TV or something like that. But as far as like national implications, I think that the Auburn Alabama game has been the most competitive, because clearly Michigan and Ohio State is not competitive anymore. Thanks, Michigan.
Yeah, thank you, Harbaugh.
The Florida Georgia game, I think is up there, because it always determines basically who's coming out of the East to play in the SEC championship game. It did this year. It just happened to not be that close this year. But as far as just like the pendulum swinging back and forth on who's going to win the game, Auburn, Alabama has something that it doesn't matter. Even if Auburn is like 2-9 going into the game, Gus Malzahn and his magic might come around and beat you by 20 points. And you're like, wait, what happened? They hadn't been this good all year.
Yep. Well, and I agree with you guys. And I'm going to say that, and I'll probably make some, well, people understand when I say this. And I agree. And I'm very shocking that, especially since as long as you guys have lived in Texas, that you guys didn't really talk too much about the OU Texas game. Because that seems to be a pretty big deal around here. But I don't get very much feel from the intensity of that game, I guess, like I have around some of the others. So, I obviously, and I'm not saying this because I'm biased, Auburn, Alabama, the Iron Bowl is a big deal. And I think that's really because the differences in most of these other ball games is that you got two in-state teams that don't have pro teams there. So that's what it's all about, regardless, all year. You're not talking about the Cowboys or someone else. So that's a big deal. But I would put in front of them, or one that I'm probably more intrigued with, and one that I would like to attend to, Mr. Tim, is the Army-Navy game. There's just so much pride in that. This is about two teams that are on the same team during the year. They're fighting with each other, and then they have to come together and fight against each other.
Yep.
And I think that it just brings a dynamic. And then
Army Navy's not up there with the Air Force Coast Guard game every year, but it's pretty close.
Air Force Coast Guard?
That was a joke.
Yeah. I know.
I was like, wait, what?
It seems like Air Force always plays TCU for some reason. But anyway, I
know, and they're supposed to be. I mean, they.
I don't know. He's breaking up on me. I can't hear him.
Yeah, he is breaking up.
Yeah, he's going out on us a little bit. So, anyway, I'm putting those up there, man. I'm putting the Army-Navy game up there with the meaning a whole lot more just because of the Patriot piece to it. And then I'm going to go with the Iron Bowl shortly after that. Then I'll head down to Michigan, Oklahoma State. Not because, like you're saying, JT. I mean, Ohio State, because of not very competitive right now, but, it's a big deal. And speaking of Ohio State, go ahead.
Go ahead. Nope, it's a good segue. Keep going.
Yeah, I was going to say, speaking of Ohio State, should they be in the playoffs? Should they really be in the playoffs?
I feel like I'm the only one that has this opinion, so you guys can go first.
I don't know if we got Tim back or not yet. I see him clicking on the screen, but I still see him stuck on the deal. I got my coach's hat on, and I do think they're a good football team, and I think they're very much caliber team. I'm teetering the line a little bit, I must say, because I think it's not fair when you don't play all of your games because other people are having to suffer through COVID times, losing and playing without their quarterback, and you're still trying to win games, and all these things you're seeing on every level, even at the pros, and you're already giving yourself somewhat of an advantage because you're playing less games. So because of that, I'm saying no, man. You got to meet this minimum. I think they're saying it's 6 games.
It's within 2 games of the league average. It's not 6 games. So if everybody starts getting canceled and everybody plays an average of 5 games, then they have to play 3 or 4 games in order to
league as in NCAA.
No, league as in the Big Ten.
Yeah, see, come on, man. That's not. I don't know. So maybe that leads into what you're trying to say to me, because I don't. If you got an average of 3 or 4 games, I know he's trying to get in, but we ain't got you yet, Tim. So go ahead, JT.
So what I would say, there's one question that has to be answered. Is the playoffs supposed to be the 4 best teams, or is it supposed to be the 4 most deserving teams?
That's the question every year. And I always say the answer would be the 4 best teams.
Then if it's the 4 best teams, Ohio State should be in the playoff.
But they don't always do that because they go by win-losses sometimes.
They do. Well, I mean, and this is exactly why, and I know you disagree with this too, but this is exactly why I think the playoff should be 10 teams, and they should just take the winners of every conference. End of story. That's it. You win just like the NFL, you win your division, no matter how sorry you are, you're in, and then you can get your butt kicked in the first round, and then we can move on. But if you're going to stick with 4 teams, if it's going to be the 4 best, Ohio State should be in there, and I would further that by saying this is not a case where Ohio State is not handling their business and they're canceling games because Ohio State has problems. They're canceling games because the teams that Ohio State's supposed to be playing are having problems. So it's not Ohio State. It's not their fault that they're only going to play 3 games. But if it's the 4 most deserving, then I could see you leaving Ohio State out. But then that opens up another can of worms because there are other teams in recent history that were more deserving than some of the teams that got in.
Oh, I thought you were going to go like a Coastal Carolina or something that needs,
No, I would say if it's 4 most deserving, I would have said Cincinnati.
Okay. I understand your point, but I don't know. We'll see. I think there's probably 3 guaranteed teams right now. I'm saying guaranteed based upon some of our principles saying is that Alabama, Ohio State, Notre Dame.
I don't know. I don't think Notre Dame or Clemson's guaranteed right now. Welcome back, Tim.
Thank you. Sorry.
Yes, sir. Welcome back.
I think so this is where it gets hairy, right? Because we're probably going to end up with 2 teams from a conference again, which this is the one year that I'd be like, that doesn't make sense to me because you've only played conference games. And in this scenario, especially with the SEC, you've seen Alabama play Georgia. They played Texas A&M. They're going to play Florida. Florida's played Georgia. We've got a pretty good body of work here to where you don't need to put 2 SEC teams in because for a fact who is better here because you've seen it. Same with Notre Dame, Clemson. They're going to play each other twice probably, and they might split. And I think the edge goes to Clemson if they split that one because Clemson took them to the wire with their freshman quarterback the first time. And then just whoever wins the ACC at that needs to go in. You don't have a contender from the Pac-12 at all. You don't have a contender from the Big 12.
Big 12,
And if you don't put Ohio State in, you don't have Michigan sucks. Michigan State sucks. Penn State sucks. Northwestern is not who we thought they were. Wisconsin basically they're not even eligible to go to their own conference championship game, not because they didn't win enough games, but like you said, they're not even close to playing enough games to go. They're already eliminated. So then it's like, okay, well, do you want to put Cincinnati in over Ohio State? Are they actually better? Probably not.
Probably not. SMU, baby. SMU, here we come to the playoff. No, man. Anyway, that make Charles.
Forget about the Aggies.
No, I didn't forget.
You don't want to put two SEC teams in.
Yeah,
well, yeah, I don't think you need to put two SEC teams in. And then, like, if they do get in, and it's Alabama and A&M.
A&M again.
It's not like that game was close. So I would get it if it was like, hey, it was somebody blocked the field goal, missed the field goal, whatever. Hey, this was a 28-point game.
It'll be close this time.
Yeah, it'll be close to being over within the first 15 minutes.
That's right. Jesus.
Yeah, as long as Kellen Mond's quarterback, that ain't wrong.
Well, okay. Well, those guys, we'll see how it goes. I mean, it's getting short on time. And when is the first official college football ranking come out with the
3 weeks ago?
Panel,
It's already happened. It's already happened 3 times.
Yeah. See, that's how much I'm paying attention to it because I don't know it even matters. I think we're kind of set. Listen to Nick. I see Nick. All right.
Yeah, I'm not gonna. I disagree with his second place of the ACC because the second place would have their second place because they lost 2 games. Like if second place is Clemson, that means they lost to Notre Dame twice.
Yeah, and that's not good. That won't be good. I think we lost him again. So let me go ahead and hit the last thing, and then we'll hopefully he'll pop back in and we'll try to wrap this show up. About TAPS, little high school football, little private school football. Want to cover a little bit. It's kind of interesting to me. Unfortunately, the JP2 Cardinals lost to Nolan Catholic this week. Very hard fought game. Very proud of my guys, coaching staff, and everything. It's kind of hard to do, and during this COVID year, and I'm really extremely proud of how we played. But Nolan will advance to the semifinal round to actually play against Fort Worth All Saints. They did beat Argyle Liberty Christian handily to put that matchup with that. Now, on the top side, Parish Episcopal ended up beating Prestonwood. I think Prestonwood was up at half and ended up losing it. So Parish advances to the semifinal round again, and they're going to be playing. This is the one that we really couldn't decide on, or I couldn't. JT said he thought it might happen, but Midland Christian beat the number 1 seed down in the South. They beat Houston St. Thomas 21-7 to advance to the Final Four. So if you wanted to be talking about the SEC and power conferences, 4 teams from our district, our 1 seed, our 2 seed, our 5th seed, and our 7th seed are all in the playoffs, in the semifinals. Wow. Knocked out the entire South region. So if you want to know how good we are, when our 7th seed knocks out their 2 seed, and our 5 seed knocks out their 1 seed, I don't know. I just think that's when we're talking about getting in the first round and seeing who advances, you don't really expect that, but it happens. So we're going to have a state champion out of our district regardless of what happens. So very proud of our district. We always try to stand strong up here in the north and represent as much as we can. So there it is, fellas. I know we went a little long today, Tim, but it was great having Broaddus on and having him on, and I truly am looking forward to having him back on again. Y'all follow him on Twitter and any other stuff. You can find him right at Bryan Broaddus, Bryan with a Y and 2 D's and Broaddus. Is a great dude, man. Listen to him on the radio and all the things that he does. He's just an amazing guy, and he brought the knowledge to us. So with that, Tim, I think we're going to go ahead and wrap it up. Get off here, man.
Yep, my my internet decided that it hates me right now, so I apologize for the connectivity issues. But hey, AT&T, man, you know, they're not a sponsor of the show. So
that sudden link, man.
What'd you say, JT?
I said you got to switch to sudden link.
Oh, okay. He didn't went back on us again, so I don't know if he's going to be able to get the music in. So can you take a screenshot of that, JT, please, so we can make sure we share that on Twitter? That
where's my print screen button? I'm not gonna...
he moved. That would have been a great screenshot right there.
Dang it. Anyway. All right. I didn't need that screenshot. Well, this has been Teague's Take. We appreciate Bryan Broaddus popping on here with us. We want to thank everybody that's watched on YouTube, on Facebook, on Periscope. Thank you to everybody for sending in their comments. And especially if you downloaded the recorded podcast, we want to say thank you to you as well. Make sure you leave us a good review. You like the podcast, and you hit that subscribe button so you get notified when new shows drop. We do this every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. You are welcome to join us on the live stream. We would love to hear from you. If you'd like to interact with George on social media, make sure you use the hashtag AskTeague, especially on Twitter, and he will see that. And if he likes it enough, we'll use it on the show, and he will interact with you. Also go to georgeteague.com to find episodes of the show, find out what the upcoming guests are, and you can find out more about us, and you can interact with George over there as well. So for everybody that's been a part of this one, I am IndyCar Tim. We will see everybody next week.